2, 3.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here with my mom.
Hi everyone.
Say hi, Mom.
Hi.
Say a fun fact about yourself.
I'm Mom.
Oh, she's Mom. Fun fact. Today we're here to share with you the much anticipated story time that I have been talking about for about a month now. So you're finally getting it brought to you from your screens, from yours truly and my mother. I hope you like the dramatic title. I wanted to try something out a little bit different and I was like, let's do a dramatic title. So we got our notes here. We're all ready. So if you see us looking down, we're looking at our notes because it's a lot of information. I'm sorry. You can break this video up into chunks and then see 5 minutes every day, and then you'll have a week of Vanessa. So let's get right into the video story time. So our first flight had already been canceled. We were supposed to leave about a week earlier than we had planned, but our flights ended up getting canceled and we weren't able to do that. So we had to book new tickets for a completely new flight and everything. So then our actual date that we left was June 22nd. So to fly to Spain, there are a couple of things you need. You need proof of medical insurance. You need documents, at least for us if you're going for a student that you're studying there, and a bunch of other documents. But the most important one to get to Spain is a QR code, which is where you need to go on a website online and type in your flight number, your passport number, everything, your negative PCR test or your vaccinations or all of that, and then they'll generate a QR code which they'll scan once you get to Spain so that they know who's coming into the country. So if you do run into someone that had COVID, they know where to contact you, and so that you can stay quarantined so you won't infect other people.
Well, so traveling internationally is quite complicated now that COVID has come to stay. So there were a lot of moving parts and everything had to be calculated. There was no margin of error for us to have everything in place for the exact time of the flight. And so, first of all, I should probably explain that to do international travel, you have to have a negative PCR test. The test usually takes between 24 and 48 hours to get the results, and if the test is more than 72 hours old, it is no longer valid. So you have to take the test 2 days before you fly and hope that you don't get delayed overnight, because then your PCR test is invalid and you will not be allowed to enter into any country. So that was kind of the stressful part that was pressing on my mind as we drove up to the airport. So in addition to the negative PCR test, which we had when we got to the airport, we also needed numerous other requirements like the QR code that you had just mentioned a little bit earlier. The QR code, you are able to do that through your through the website or through an app. So I was proactive, and the 2 days before we traveled, I tried to start creating that QR code through the website. However, the website had some technical issues and it would not let us advance from page 5 to finalize the application and hence get the QR code as a result. So it was stuck. I was hoping somebody in the airport would be able to help us with some tech suggestions on troubleshooting how to fix it and make it work. But when we got to the airport counter and I had showed the person checking us in our documents, proof of studies, proof of medical insurance, negative PCR test, then it was time to show him the QR code. I explained to the gentleman that it was not working, so he called his supervisor and they consulted on the phone. Then his supervisor had to consult with somebody else, and then his supervisor called him back, and then he said that basically, you better figure this out. We'll let you get on the plane now to go to New York, but if you don't have your QR code figured out by the time you get to New York, you will not be allowed on the plane to go to Madrid. So that was one little stressful and additional stressful item, because now in addition to being stressed out about if we had any delays on the flight, our PCR test would be invalid and we would not be allowed to go into the country of Spain. But now also I had that additional stressor of this website's not working, but you better figure it out. Otherwise, you're not going to be let on the plane.
And so we stepped off to the side when the guy told us that, and there was an option to download the app, the whole Spain health app. So that's what we did. We eventually got mine and Brianna's QR code before we went on the plane to New York. But since my mom had already started hers and all it was doing was giving us a circle and not giving us the QR code, her information was somewhere up in the cloud processing, and so we could not make an identical QR code with all the same information.
Duplicate account. It would not let us create a duplicate account because I had already started creating an account on the website, so I could not create an additional account on the application on Vanessa's phone.
And so at that point I asked my mom, I was like, what's, like, you can travel to Spain more than once, but what's the difference that's going to tell you what the different QR codes are? And she said that the difference, because you obviously can't change your passport number, you can't change your phone number, and you can't change your name. So I'm like, what's the factor that will give you a new QR code if you want to go to Spain again? And she said, the flight number. I was like, well, we can't change our flight number. Like, that's not gonna work.
At this point, we were in the airport. We couldn't change flight.
Yeah, so we were kind of stuck. So we went through security. We just did all the normal stuff, and we're like, we'll figure it out once we're waiting for our flight. So we're waiting and we're figuring it out. I'm like Googling how to like troubleshoot this website, like trying to get it, and nothing's working.
I even emailed the consulate of Chicago, the consulate general of Spain in Chicago, and said, the website's not working, help, how can you help me?
Yeah, so we were just kind of trying to figuring out and like crossing our fingers that it would work. We were just praying, and
we were waiting for the flight, and the flight was calculated with a 59-minute layover. So we were really hoping that our flight would leave on time so that we had 59 minutes to quick change the terminal at JFK from one terminal to another terminal to catch that connecting flight. Because like I said, if we missed our connecting flight, we'd have to wait till the next day to take a new flight, which would then invalidate the PCR test, which then would bar us from entering Spain.
And if you don't know, JFK is the largest airport, I think, in all of the US. It is though, right?
I don't know, but it was big.
At least it's the biggest in New York, but I think it's the biggest in all of the US, or at least one of the top 3. So in order to change terminals and figure out where you're going when it's like this huge 5 or 4 terminal, like international huge airport, is very stressful, and you definitely need more than 59 minutes for that.
So our plane was supposed to leave from Chicago to JFK at 3 p.m. and at 2:45 the assistant made an announcement that our plane would be delayed. It would be leaving late. And so that made me so nervous because I thought in my mind, there's only 59 minutes to switch planes, to change terminals, switch planes if the plane leaves on time. Oh my goodness, what are we going to do to get our connecting flight? So Vanessa is such a trooper, always looking at the positives of everything. So Vanessa said to me,
I was just going through my mind, and I always try to be optimistic because I know that everything happens for a reason. And so I was just thinking, like, why is this happening? Like, what could be like a positive outcome from this? And I was just like, maybe God is holding this flight back for someone else that really needs to be on this flight right now. Maybe someone is running and their connecting flight was delayed, and they are running to get to this flight, hoping that they'll make it on time, and we're delayed waiting for that one specific person that God needs to be on that plane for some specific reason. So we were just hoping that maybe that was a possibility. Maybe we would never know if that would actually happen, but I was just like, guys, I talked to my mom and Bree, and I was like, this could be a possibility, so let's not get a total hope. This will give us a little bit more time to try to figure out that QR code thing and try to figure it out a little bit more, and hopefully there is a good reason of why our flight was delayed when we only had a 59-minute delay to begin with.
So I'm just going to let you know exactly what Vanessa said, because her words were very impactful and they have meaning for the rest of the story. So she said, "Don't worry, Mom. God can hold back the other plane, our connecting flight, for us. You don't know. Maybe God is holding back this plane for someone that really needs to be on it, so he can also hold back the connecting flight for us. So
yeah, she wrote that down word for word because my mom likes writing down quotes. So.
I do, yes. And finally at 3:30, instead of leaving at 3 o'clock, we left at 3:30.
Which is about a 20-minute layover now to switch terminal.
29 minutes.
29 minutes to get connected to our gate, leave our gate, find a shuttle, switch the terminal, run to the next gate, and still board in time. So that's where we're at in this whole situation right now.
So at 3:30, we finally boarded the plane. We finally departed at 3:30, and we had exactly 29 minutes to change the terminals in JFK and to get on our plane before the plane left. So we quickly got on the plane. They started loading everybody. We got on our plane. Vanessa and Brianna were sitting together. It was a plane that had 2 seats on one row, 2 seats on the other row. So it was a rather small plane. Vanessa and Brianna were sitting together on the right-hand side of the airplane, and I was sitting by the window, and there was a stranger that was between me and the girls. So random seating. So as we got on the plane took off. I started making some small talk with my unknown neighbor. I presented myself, said, "Hi, I'm Felicia, blah, blah, blah." Started talking, striking up conversation with the random person that was sitting next to me. And as I began conversing with the stranger, I discovered that he had, this was his connecting flight. He had taken a flight from somewhere else to Chicago, and his flight was delayed. So if our flight hadn't been delayed, he would have missed his connecting flight. And I thought to myself when he told me that, oh my goodness, Vanessa's a prophet. She called it. That's exactly what Vanessa said. So, not knowing this random stranger at all, I just kind of said to him, "You are the person my daughter was telling me about." So I started a conversation with the random person that was assigned to sit next to me, and as I began conversing with him, I discovered that his first plane had been delayed and that he literally had to run to catch his connecting flight, which was the plane we were on. And if our plane hadn't been delayed, he would have missed the connecting flight. I told him that I thought that God had delayed our flight so that he could make it on board. I told him what Vanessa had said and how she thought that maybe God was holding back our plane so that somebody else could get on the plane that really needed to be on the plane. And this person just sat in silence for about a minute, and then he said, "I think God is using you to tell me what God is trying to tell me." And it turns out, as we continued conversing and having the conversation on the plane, he said that he was a pastor at a Baptist church outside of Chicago, and he was on his way to Ghana, Africa, to take a quick vacation. But he absolutely needed to make that connecting flight, because just as we needed to make our connecting flight in JFK so that our PCR wouldn't expire, he needed to make this flight that he was on with us so that he could make his connecting flight to Ghana and his PCR would not be expired.
And a part that my mom forgot to put in there really quick, that she was telling us that the pastor had said that this was totally a God thing because he had felt like he had been falling back from God, and that it took him until he was to the point of almost missing a flight for God to finally speak to him through just a random stranger sitting on the plane that happened to be my mom, through some optimistic comment that I had made, that God spoke to him to just remind him, I'm here and I'm still in control, which I think is an amazing reminder for everyone, that he's still in control even when we're freaking out and we definitely don't know what's going on, that he definitely is still always in control. So after that, we get off of our plane, but not quite. We didn't quite get off our plane, because as soon as we got there, our gate, like the thing that like attaches to the plane door, like that long thingy that attaches to like the building in the plane, was taking too long to get connected to our flight. So that was another like extra 10 minutes that we were just standing up like freaking out. And we also still did not have our QR code, and so we were just hoping they were gonna let us on the Spain flight, and we were kind of freaking out because we're like, well, I hope the flight attendant, like, I know we're gonna get to the gate a little bit late, but I hope she still talks with us and like maybe can help us out a little bit. So we're standing there at the gate, and there is this amazing woman on this flight who is her and her family, and they are determined to get to Athens, and their flight left at the same time that our flight left, and they were leaving out of the same terminal as us. So this mom, she might have been a Karen in the eyes of others, but for us, it really did help us a lot because it was her family and then this other family that was also going to Athens, and then our family that were all trying to run. So we all ran out of the plane. The lady who's the Karen but was amazing in our eyes was like, if you don't have a connecting flight right now, you need to sit down because we are about to miss our flight. And everyone else sat down, and it just cleared a path for us to like run out of the plane. We're running through the terminal. We get on the shuttle bus, and this Karen lady is amazing. She's just like to the shuttle driver, you don't understand, like you need to leave right now. He's like, I really can't leave right now. And she's like, you need to leave right now, we're gonna miss our flight. So then he leaves, and he's like, okay. So then we left, and then we got into our terminal, and then we're all running together because our gates were super close. But that's the last time that we saw her. So Karen, if you're watching this, thank you. I know you probably annoyed some other people, but kisses to you because it got us to our gate on time. So we made it to our gate. And we're still freaking out about the QR code because we still have no idea what's going on. But you know, after that whole experience that my mom had told us while we were on the shuttle switching to the terminals, when she's like, Vanessa, like the guy, like there was a guy who needed that flight, and I was like, oh boy, like God really is in control. So we finally get to the gate, and the whole line is backed up. Our flight was gonna leave late from the amount of people that still had to board. So God held back our flight for us. We made it on time because just as God held back the flight for that pastor that needed to get on his plane to Africa, he also held back our flight so that we could board. So we stood in the line, and we're still fidgeting with the QR code, and we're like, what's happening? And then this is the craziest part. God, I don't even know how this happened. He must have led my eyes over to the screen where was the flight number. And our flight number was 126.
DL 126.
DL 126. And so I had remembered that my mom told me the only thing that can change the QR code is the flight number. And so when I look over at the screen, the flight number is DL 126, because most flight numbers are 4 numbers, but because ours was only 3, they had a 0 in front of 126. So it was technically the same flight number. So I pulled out the QR code. We are in line. We were about to board.
You pulled out your app.
Yeah, I pulled out the app, and I'm typing in my mom's passport number, her name, blah, 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 like literally 5 pages of information. And when I get to the flight, instead of typing in DL 126, I type in DL 126, and it generates the QR code. And I'm not even joking. As soon as it pops up, it's our turn to board the flight, and they just go QR codes right there.
The timing was impeccable.
Like, not even, like, this is literally crazy, like, telling the story again, because, like, if you go back and watch my travel vlog, I think it's called, We Almost Missed Our Flight, like, you can see, like, I picked up the camera and vlogged, and we were freaking out internally, but we didn't really show it in the video. Like, it was crazy. Like, obviously, our timing as humans would have been, oh, it would have been nice to have the QR code earlier than right before. But God's timing was, no, I'm going to use you to speak to this pastor, and I am going to give you the QR code literally right before you board the plane, which was just insane. So we ended up boarding the plane with our QR codes, which you really, once we got to Spain, like, you really did need those or you were not getting into the country. So we boarded that with the QR codes. And then that made me think back to the previous flight that had been canceled. That was so frustrating that it was canceled. We only found out the day before. If that flight number was a 4-digit flight number, we couldn't have changed it. Because my mom would have still logged into the same computer to put in the QR code and it would have stopped working. And that flight number of 4 numbers would have been in the computer and we couldn't have changed it. But because our flight was canceled completely, we had to get new tickets, and we got a flight number with 3 numbers, so we were able to add a 0 right in front of it, we were able to generate a new QR code.
Pretty amazing.
You can't make this stuff up. Like, this,
what are the chances?
This isn't like a joke or like a, I don't even know. Like, this is for real, like some God stuff. Like,
yes.
I don't even know, like, what to tell you. Like, there's no, like, the universe did this, or I don't know, what do other people believe in? Their crystals? My crystals didn't do this. Like, this was God. Like, pure God of like, here's some proof that I'm real, and you should not doubt my controlness. My in-controlness.
Sovereignty?
Sure. Yep. I like in-controlness better. But it was just, like, a great reminder for me, and like now being able to share this story online for people to see, like maybe you're stressing out about something right now that like you don't know what's going on. Like everyone's going through the same pandemic right now. I think we're all a little bit stressed out, just a little bit. Like things are stressful and unsure
and unpredictable, and there are so many steps for everything, and things can change, rules can change from one day to the next, and it's so hard to plan. It's so hard to I'm a planner. It's hard to plan because things change from one moment to the next.
So maybe you're going through something that could be the pandemic related, or it could be totally something unrelated. Relationships, maybe? It could be a romantic one, family, friends, like literally anything that you are worried about. Like, I don't know if God still has the control over this one. I know he might have had the control over things in the Bible, or maybe he has the control in things when I was a kid, but now that I'm older, I'm not so sure. But I want to tell you guys that he 100% is still in control. And you don't have to take my word for it, but if you like look and have that optimistic mindset that is very hard to have. I definitely do not have it all the time. Even if I seem like I do, I definitely don't. But this is an instance where I just had to breathe and say, okay, God, show me what could be a positive out of this. And I think if I did that more, and I think if the world just did that a little bit more, if we just took a deep breath and just looked at the world through God's eyes and how he sees things and how everything is going to work out, whether it's our way or not, like it's all going to work out. Worrying, this is the biggest takeaway for me. Worrying about a situation is not going to change the outcome. I could have worried about that situation and the same outcome maybe would have happened. Or I could have opened my eyes and looked at it through God's lens, through his contact lenses, and see it a totally different way. So it's just taught me I don't have to worry as much because I know that what's going to happen is going to happen. As long as I breathe and put in God's contact lenses and just look at the world through how he sees it, I'm going to have such a different mindset, and God's going to be able to speak to me and speak to others, possibly through me or through you or through my mom or through other people in a way that you wouldn't have if you were worrying. So there's a little mini sermon for today. Happy Sunday, guys. So there's your story time. I hope you enjoyed it. Next week's video is going to be a little road trip, and then the week after is going to be a tour of my dream college. If you want to stay tuned for that, you're going to want to subscribe and turn on that bell notification so that you get notified every single time I post a video. And for sure, you're going to want to do that because I'm leaving for Spain in less than a month for a whole entire year. I won't be able to physically touch my mom until next June. What is this madness? Like, this cannot happen till next June. So you're going to want to subscribe and ring that bell so that you can get notified every single time I post a video in Spain. And next June, you're going to want to see the reunion.
The family reunion.
The family reunion. I know we have some time, but you're still going to want to look forward to that. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you liked this video. This is like the 5th time I'm saying that. Do you have something else to add, Mom?
See you next time.
See you next time.